Right, you're always seeing posts online about these heaters. These heaters are absolutely awesome for the price. I've had this one a few years. It doesn't ever smoke and I never get any fuel problems. And the reason being is during the summer I run it once a month for 2 hours just to basically give it a heat, burn off any carbon what's in there, because what you don't want is the carbon to set. The moisture will get in, condensation will get in, it'll soak into the carbon. In the warm days the carbon will set. So if you run it a couple of hours every month during the summer months, you basically burn all that carbon off, so it doesn't become an issue. Once you've got your diesel heater down, there's 4 bolts there, 13mm nuts. That takes it off the plate and everything. Unscrew this end, just screws on, and that'll allow you to pull this top cover off. Like I say, I've already pre-stripped this just to make it easier. The back bit, just put a screwdriver in the end, give it a hit with your hand, and it will pop off. And then once you've got to that stage, your diesel heater will quite easily pop out. When you're left with that, there's 4 bolts here and here. So there's 2 at the bottom, 2 at the top. This is the fan what blows the air past your fins, and this is what creates the warm air and puts it into your workshop. However, it also, if we just turn this over, there's also a little bolt on the control panel which allows it to come off, right? It also blows air through the combustion chamber, and this is enough to blow the air through the combustion chamber to ignite the diesel. There's no injectors in this thing. It's bog standard. Just watch your gaskets. Like, I've broken that one there, but luckily enough I have spares. So take the control panel off, the motherboard off, take the bolts out, lift that out. In here is where your diesel glow plug works. It is just a glow plug, nothing fancy. There's no jets or nothing. I've changed one in 3 years and it was still working. I just decided to change it. So once you're at this level, your glow plug screws into there, right? There's a little nut on top there that just unscrews. It's a 13mm head, so 13mm spanner will do it. And then you take the 4 bolts out. This is the combustion chamber, and so basically this is where all the magic happens. Like you can see, I use this quite often, maybe 3 or 4 times a week for maybe 3 or 4 hours at a time. And if you look inside, it's quite clean. That's because I run it during the summer. So at the minute we'll just throw this to one side, because this is what we want. Right, in here, as you can see, we'll just get this rubber out the way because it's just a bit of a nuisance. There's a little hole on the side of where the combustion chamber, where the glow plug goes in. Just a little 3mm hole, I believe it is. Right, you've got to make sure that's clear. If that's not clear, like, I don't think you can see it very well in there, it's not going to allow air to go through the system. So basically, as the fan's turning, I'll get a pen, not a pen, a pointer. As the fan's turning, it's blowing air towards the combustion chamber, and it blows air through that little hole. If it doesn't get an air path from that hole through the chamber into the body and out the exhaust, it will not work. And if you've got your exhaust with a dip in it, what happens is when that little atomizer, there's a little atomizer in there. I do believe I have some somewhere. Oh, I did have some somewhere. 2 seconds. That is an atomizer. It's basically a mesh tube, right? That sits in there where the glow plug goes, right? What happens over time is, as it's sitting in there, it gets choked up and it reduces the flow path into the chamber. It's a simple thing. You've just got to hook it, get a hook it out, put a new one in. But when you put it in, you've got to make sure you push it down past that hole, because you don't want it blocking that hole. You want the diesel to come through here, go in, and it'll get soaked up in the mesh, and then the glow plug will heat it over 55 degrees, where it'll burst into flames when it gets enough heat. All you've got to do is just basically get a screwdriver, get something to push that down. I use an Allen key, push it in, make sure that hole's clear. Right, it is, like I say, it is just a 3mm hole. Yeah, it's a 3mm hole. Just make sure it's clear. Stick a screwdriver in, rub it about, and make sure the mesh isn't catching. But also, when you've got the mesh out, stick a screwdriver down there. Undo any carbon build-up, because you want a nice clean air path, so that you can basically see there's no carbon in there, because I've just done that before this winter. And then you will get carbon build-up in there, but I've seen them where all this is choked with carbon and all that is choked with carbon, and that's simply because they haven't changed one of these. You can buy 10 of them on eBay for less than £5. It's, that's what's giving you all the problem. And then when you've got your exhaust, make sure your exhaust is sloping away, so that what happens is when this isn't combusting right, it doesn't burn all the fuel. So you've got fuel coming into the chamber and going into the exhaust. I've been to people's heaters and had a look at them where you can actually pour the diesel out the exhaust. But what you need is, that exhaust to go along at a slant, and then so anything what goes in it can drip out. If it's burning properly, it'll never drip out. So basically that's it, and then you just put it all back together. You don't need anything fancy, just keep that mesh clear, keep that hole clear, and burn it. Use it during the summer to burn off the carbon, and you'll all be good to go. I hope this helps.